Rishi Rich, I get you in my chair. We're here in Toronto. I can't believe it because I have been a major fan of yours for the last 20 years. And I don't oftentimes get the opportunity to have someone sitting in my chair who I've looked up to for as long as I have with you. You've been a tremendous role model in, just pop cultural music throughout my time, and a lot of your influences have just really been a part of my life. And I think a lot of people can say that over the last 2 decades. You started music and the fusion sound that you're so indicative of, and is just such a signature sound that so many people after you have started to emulate, but you created that, right, so many years ago. And you did mention to me when we were chatting that you didn't release the sound until it was absolutely perfect. It took you years to get there. Yeah. Can you tell me that story?
Well, yes. I mean, from a really young age, I've been into music. So I learned Indian classical music from my grandma from the age of 3.
Wow.
And then my mum put me in touch with this teacher called Neera Markandi, and she was from India, so she taught me harmonium and tabla and everything. So I knew that I wanted to, that's what I wanted to do, because I'd always played the piano from, 2-3 years old. And that's what, I knew I wanted to be a musician first. And then I think when I was around 13, all my friends kind of moved over to the DJ kind of route. And I was like, that's cool, but I actually want to go and learn how music is made. So I purchased one of those, keyboards where you could sequence and everything like that. I put a demo together. There was a recording studio around the corner from my mum's house where I knew it was an Indian recording studio, and I knew that that may be a place where I can work. So I just walked down there, gave them my tape, and they were like amazed. They were like, yeah, come and this is your studio. They're like, work on our projects when you want, but you can learn everything there. And that's what I did, and that's really where I started my journey, because growing up with my mom, growing up in the house of, her listening to Stevie Wonder and James Brown and, and R.D. Burman and Elvis Presley, and she used to listen to songs back to back, and so I used to hear all these different sounds, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. So I grew up with a very soulful kind of, upbringing, but yeah, I love R.D. Burman, and I love, composition, and that's what I really wanted to do. So when I was in that studio, I kind of tried to construct music which is what I kind of had heard growing up, but fuse it together. But it took me a little while. I'd worked with singers. I'd got singers to come in, and I just met Veronica there, so I used to get her to sing like in R&B, and then I used to find Indian samples or get an Indian guy to sing, and I perfected that sound up until I met Juggy and Jay, and when we did Dance For You, and at that time I just knew that this is exactly what I've been working for, this sound. I think Dance For You, when it came out, it was very unique. People who know about music, it didn't really change. The beat didn't really change, but it was the flute mixed and married with the bass and the drums.
And people weren't doing that until you did it.
No, yeah. and then Jay singing in Jay singing R&B, and then Juggy singing in Punjabi, and putting that together, and that kind of started this whole thing where then Britney and Ricky Martin, they wanted this this flavor, and for me that was like, okay, well, this is what I work for.
Absolutely. And you've worked with some of the biggest stars on both sides of the Atlantic. You've done tons of things in Bollywood. You've done a ton of stuff in really being the pioneer behind British Asian music, and that entire revolution, and the Rishi Rich project really put our music into the genre of being cool. Right? Yeah. Until then, we'd all like, close the windows, and when we were driving, and our parents would put on the music, and we'd be a little bit embarrassed. But then people like you came out, and you made it cool, to be into our music.
I think I remember going to the clubs in London and seeing a lot of, all the Indians dancing to R&B and hip hop, and I was like, and yes, we had pioneers and legends like Stereo Nation and Apache Indian and Bally Sagoo, but their music was very much Indian.
Yes.
And it was going to India.
Yes.
There was nothing really going to London, cool London, and then I remember when Dance For You came out, and a few months later I went to the same club, and when that came on, I think the Indians really kind of were like, yeah, this is us.
Yes.
And it was not just India, it was white, black people dancing to it. And that for me, what I wanted, you know, is to kind of, because, you know, growing up in London, that's the kind of music and that's what I wanted to hear. So I think that's what, you know, that's what really started for us. And, you know, and I'm so glad that, you know, like Jay and Juggy were on that same level, because a funny story is when we did Dance For You, Jay was like, I don't want no Punjabi in my record.
Yeah.
You know, he was like, I don't want no Punjabi, I'm an R&B artist. I'm like, listen, that's great and you'll get to do that, which he has. And I'm like, but, you know, it's our first song, let's do something which is going to combine. And I remember, you know, having to convince him, say, look, I know this guy called Juggy, they didn't know each other.
Right.
So I just put them two together in the studio and, you know, we created them.
And magic just took place after that. And there's been so many artists after that that have emulated your style, have kind of put their own twist and vibe to it. And it's really interesting because, you know, there was this massive revolution, you know, of, you know, kind of like that underground fusion sound, which, you know, you kind of, you know, pioneered. And so many artists came out of that, you know, for a number of years. But then all of a sudden, it kind of died down, right? There was that whole time period when the Rishi Rich, and it's funny because I, you know, when I interviewed Raghav, he mentioned this as well. He says, you know, Raj, when the Rishi Rich project wasn't doing music, there wasn't any music. If I wasn't writing a new song, there wasn't any music. Like there was no one there to kind of fill the gaps.
Yeah, it's true. And I think, you know, I feel sorry for the artists now, you know, the younger artists, because, you know, the time has changed, and I think they're under a lot of pressure to kind of deliver records every month or every 2 months, and you know, and there's so much talent out there. But at that time there was a difference in what we were doing, because things were very organic. We were like, let the record grow. Yes. It's not about iTunes. You know, we didn't really have iTunes then, but we had charts. But we were like, we want to get into the mainstream charts, or you know, to the UK charts. But we were like, let the record grow, and that's what I think. You know, I wish that would come back to music, because it's not. I think, you know, when you put music out, you have to let people digest it. You know,
I agree with
and not
that.
just wait and see how many hits you have in a week, or if it gets to, you know, the iTunes chart. So I think, and Raghav is right, you know, because he did come out after us, and even he had a great edge to him, and I think now there are, you know, some great artists out there, and I just hope that they find their own, you know, their own kind of path and their own sound. You know. Yeah,
I agree with you. But then, you know, a lot of these artists, you know, don't have the strength of good music producers. There aren't many people like you, right, that kind of really understand all of these different genres of music and how to kind of make them work together. Yeah. And that's actually a real true story. I mean, look at the music industry out there, where our music is being utilized from a pop cultural mainstream perspective, right? There's so many artists that are singers and they're songwriters, but they don't know how to produce the sound.
Yeah, and I think it's important. I think, firstly, the producer-artist relationship is very important, and I think you need to give that time. Yes. You know, you need to find each other and see what each other's sounds are. And every artist that I have taken on, from the newer artists, from the older ones, I've spent a year with them before we even went into the studio. And I mean, like going out. You know, let's party. That's your
process.
That's my vibe. Yeah, that's what I like to do. I mean, H Dami was a classic, because when I signed him, I was like, we're not recording, we're going to party for a couple of months. So we're going to go here, we're going to go there. And I was going to Dubai with Jay, and I was like, you're coming with me. Yeah. And I got to know him, he got to know me. And then when we went into the studio, we created something which was great for him, and it launched his career.
Absolutely.
And I think it's very important that, you know, the producer really understands the artist. But even so, I think it's important the producer understands the sound.
Right.
You know, I was just telling my friend Anil just a story downstairs. I was like, because I was telling him about my new album, and I was like, well, my last album, there was a track called Please Me, and it's so funny, I was getting a taxi cab to the studio, and the guy in the taxi was telling me he can sing Qawwali. And I was like, really? And he was an older kind of man, and I was like, really? I was like, okay. I go, why don't you come upstairs? So he came upstairs, and he was like, oh, you got a studio? I said, yeah. And he goes, do you mind if I sing? I said, no, sing. And he goes, I go, shall I record it? He said, okay, record it. So I recorded him just doing LARPs and stuff.
Wow.
And then he left. I said, do you want a copy? He said, no, don't worry about it. Never saw him again. I don't even know what his name was. So an R&B artist worked with me probably a year after that. And he was like, let's do something different. And I remembered I recorded him. So I got his vocals, I put this song together, and I made this happen.
Wow.
it's that kind of way of kind of thing, you know, let's just try different things and let's not be scared to, you know, put things together. And I think with my project album, which was, you know, people didn't understand it when it came out. You know, people were like, what is this? You know, where is Najina? Where is, you know, what do I'm like, trust me. And then I think literally 10 years later, people are like, we love that album.
Right.
You know, so.
Right. You're kind of what, you know, that's the kind of difference I find, you know, with you and why you're kind of in a class of your own as a music producer, is that, you know, you don't kind of go with the sound of that's cool at that time. You're an innovator, right? You're about, you know, finding the right sound for a specific artist, which is why I think you're such a hit maker, why you've had so many tremendous artists that are kind of filtered through your system. I mean, you know, obviously Juggy D, Jay Sean, Veronica, Mumsy, absolutely. My God, you became massive, right?
H-Dami.
H-Dami.
And I've just signed now 2 artists. One is Amrit. But I won't say signed, because I think what I've learned is to let the artists kind of just do what they need to do and blossom, you know, in their own way, and have a good team behind them. So there's Amrit Dasu, who, you know, has been kind of, people like, he's the next Jay Sean, but I think he's different. He's got a different edge to him. And then I've signed this girl called Serena, who's she's from, her dad is Swedish and her mum is Indian.
Wow.
So, and she's beautiful and her voice is very earthy.
Yeah.
And the music, I've just finished her EP, and I actually I didn't realize that I could produce music like that, because I've gone, you know, she's got, her mum is Tamil as well. So I've used Tamil singers within pop music and R&B and put it together.
I'm so excited to you know, see these new artists of yours that you're working with. Yeah. But you're also you know, doing your own stuff as well. Let's talk a little bit about, you know, an album. There's 2 albums you just finished.
Yes.
One of them you mentioned to me that took you like 5 years to get there. You're such a perfectionist.
It did.
Talk about the process of that one.
Well, the album which my solo album, which I'm so proud of, I've just finished 17 tracks on it. But I think more so it's a case of, like, I wanted to make it, every single track I want it to be very unique. To, you know, for instance, like, I got Ray J from LA to sing with Saiba from LA, who's a new Indian girl that I'm working with, and then I got Sonu Nigam to feature on it. So I've put these 2 together, or 3 together.
Wow.
So that's just one of the tracks.
Yeah.
Then there's and I can never pronounce this name, Lakwinder Vadali.
Okay.
So he's from the Vadali brothers in India.
Yeah.
So I've got him to work, and then I've got Teddy Riley to feature, because Teddy does the talk box.
Yes.
And he sings. So I've got, you know, from Blackstreet. So I've got them together, because obviously I'm signed by Teddy in Atlanta.
Yes, absolutely.
So I've got him, and then I've got Shazia Manzoor.
Love her vocals.
And I've got Master Salim working with some other rappers and stuff. So I've just put this out, and it's funny because even Marina hasn't heard the album.
Really?
Like today on the plane, I was like, okay, listen to this. And she's like, oh my God, this sounds great. And she's like, I haven't heard your album. And because I've really kept it under wraps, because I've been really trying to really be creative with it. So I'm really excited about that, because I think, you know, and it's funny, I was saying to my friend today, I said, I don't even care if it sells or not. You know, that's how I feel about it. It's just, I want it's a body of work that I just want to put out, and, you know, and let the world share it and appreciate music, which is, it's no genre to this album. You know, it doesn't even make sense. It can't sit in any chart. You know.
I love that though.
Yeah.
Again, that's a part and parcel of, you know, your pioneering, your innovative spirit that you have. Your, you know, when you first came out with your first album, that didn't really fit into any chart.
No.
You kind of created this new genre of chart. So you never know, that could be something that's happening here.
I mean, I think, you know, I put a little thing out yesterday on social media that I finally finished it, and it's so nice for people to kind of, you know, to say, wow, we can't wait, because there are people who will understand this album, and it will take a few people to a few years for people to understand it, I think. Because sometimes I can go crazy with music, and I like to do that. So that's, you know, that's one of my albums, and I've just finished scoring.
What's that one called?
Music. It's just music. Wow. Because it's called Music by RR, which is my, you know, which is my thing. So it's just music. Yeah. So and then I've just finished scoring Audiorec Bertoni, which is a new British film.
Yes.
So I've done the soundtrack for that, and I've finished scoring, which is my first score. So I really wanted to, you know, I've always wanted to score music because I'm a musician.
Yes.
So this is my, you know, my opportunity to, you know, to score a British film. So that's really cool. And
what was that? How was that process different from the
Well,
album that you just finished?
When I learned music, when I learned tabla, harmonium, one of my teachers would light a candle and then he would say, play tabla, and I used to play until the candle used to burn out. And he used to tell me like, okay, play like it's raining, or play like you're sad. And so I used to kind of get this knowledge in me. And then when I took, when I was in school and I was doing music, we were given, you know, projects to go away and make music about love or make music about sadness. So, you know, I learned how to put feelings to music.
Right.
So this was my first time where I had a body of a visual, which, you know, I had the film, and then I just watched the film and I scored and I played what I felt, and sometimes it was, you know, it was a bit off the ball, and the director would come back and say, no, change this, change that. And there's one bit where in the film where it changes, and it's very dramatic, and I got this female artist to come in, and she sounds like she's gonna die.
Wow.
It's really crazy.
Anyone we know? Is she new?
Her name is Udi, and
Okay.
she's a South Indian singer, and it's frightening. It's frightening.
I'm dying to hear that now.
And that's a film that Marina's in as well. And now, just literally a few days ago, we just confirmed that both Jay and Juggy are coming to Atlanta to stay with me. So we're working on the Rishi Rich project EP.
Oh, I can't wait for that.
Yeah, so
can't wait.
And I hope
like
we
a
get some work
reunion
done.
kind of thing.
Well,
Oh,
yeah.
you guys are not going to get any work.
That's the
What are you
thing.
talking
Like we
about?
tried to do it in London, and we ended up going out, all three of us. So, but no, this time it's focused because, you know, we wanting to get this going, and Juggy's been in India, Jay's been flying everywhere. I've just kind of settled in Atlanta, so I've just got my studio and everything there. So I said, look, this is a perfect time. So yeah, we're going to put this EP together.
So what is happening in that whole side of your music experience? I mean, we've talked about obviously the Rishi Rich project. What is that chapter going to be about? I'm excited to see what happens there. I'm sure you guys are going to cause all kinds of trouble together and just come out with some like great energy.
Well, I think what I wanted to do, and I kind of didn't really know what I wanted to do until it kind of started to happen, which was to recreate what I did in London. Was to take artists who were normal, artists who had a passion for music, and for me to say, okay, you know what, I'm going to give you the sound. And that's what I've done with Amrit. So I know where I'm going with what I want to do is, I'm creating a label, I'm creating a sound, I'm taking South Indian artists from America this time, whether it's LA or New York, and even Canada, because now people know I'm in America, it's easy for them to fly over to Atlanta.
Right, absolutely.
And I've never been that accessible for people in America. But I do feel now that there's such a big opportunity for these artists in America and Canada.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I'm doing. I'm just going to recreate what I did, but have lots of fun with it. And the good thing is, like, someone like Jay is on board as well to be involved. Like, he will come on board, and he'll write for Amrit if I need him to. Because we're gonna, we started something, and I said to Jay that, wherever we do separately in our career, but we have to carry this thing. I'm always going to do that.
Yeah, this is a legacy.
Yeah. As much as I try and say, okay, you know what, it's about me, but I always go back to saying, you know what, that guy's got talent, I want to work with him.
Yes.
And somehow I find these artists and I kind of create this sound, and I actually really enjoy doing that. I actually love seeing an artist grow.
You've worked with Rajeshwari too, right?
Yeah, I've just done some stuff with her, which has been great. She came to Atlanta, and I've known her for a little while, and we've created some magic. I'm
really glad that you're here in North America, because it's about time that your talent, your diversity, and the fact that you really understand that you got to get into the mindset and the artist space of each of these individual artists. Like, the great thing about you that I love, Rishi, is that you don't try and mold these people all into you and your signature sound. You actually help them find who they are.
Yeah, and I think I learn as well.
Yes.
I'm not that kind of producer where I know that I think I know what's going to work for them, but like, let's say for Amrit or Serena, for example, I never would have delved into the Tamil music scene in that sense. But what I've done is, I studied it for a few days. I listened to loads of Tamil music, and then I listened to what we'd written together and what I'd produced, and I put it together. So I'm evolving, and I'm learning as a producer every single day, because these artists are like 10, 15 years younger than me.
Yes.
Amrit's only a little, he's 20, 21, whatever he is. So my thing is that and he'll come to the studio and we'll work, and I'm like, what do you think about this? And he's like, actually, why don't you try that? And it kind of really puts me, and then at the same time I'm still teaching him and coaching him.
Yes.
Like his new single that we've just done is you know, it's magic again. You know, it's something which I wish and I want to send it to Jay, because I was like, Jay, this is what you need to be singing, because it's got this kind of whole different kind of flavor to it. But I love the fact that Amrit's very open to it, and so yeah, I mean, you know, I love I love learning off artists. I think I've always done that. You know, I think it's very important for a producer to learn, you know, from artists, because that's what gives you that producer-artist relationship.
Absolutely, and that's really obviously integral to, you know, you being who you are, Rishi. Talk to me about I mean, here you are, you're in Atlanta right now, you've been here for a bit, you're in North America, and this is kind of your next chapter, right? What are your hopes for here?
Firstly, I'm meeting new people, I'm meeting new artists, and like I said, I'm going to recreate what I did in London, and that's all it is. I'm going to take South Asian artists in America and Canada and work with them.
They're so lucky that you're here.
Because I don't need to work for work anymore.
Yeah.
I work now because I really enjoy working with these artists,
Yes.
and now putting you know, and now talking to the labels, they can see it. You know, they can, once they hear the music, they can see it. So that's what I'm doing. You know, I'm really enjoying that, and you know, more, you know, scoring movies and going back and forth to London.
Yeah.
And the good thing is now, like, if any artist wants to work with me, they have to come to me,
Yes.
which is great. You know?
I love that.
Because in London it was a bit crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I can well imagine. But you have this massive portfolio also, you mentioned a little bit earlier, of mixing music for a lot of the mainstream artists. I mean, we're going back, like, what was it, like 2003, like Mary J. Blige, like way back years ago, before people were really doing any of that kind of stuff.
I think it started from from the whole Craig David
Yeah.
thing, where Craig wanted me to do some stuff, and I got Juggy on board, and then I met Brittany, and she was
Yes.
like, I want you to, you know, work on this, but add your flavor. So I got Juggy on board, and she performed it at the American Music Awards, and then I did Ricky Martin stuff,
Yeah.
and then in London I did Westlife, and you know, loads of different artists, and then obviously went to Bollywood and did Humdum and stuff like that.
Yes.
And,
So you're all over the map.
I think I've always wanted that triangle.
Yeah.
I've always said that I wanted America, UK, and India.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't really chase it.
So future for you, if in another 10 years, when you look back at your life, what do you hope these next 10 years are going to be like for you?
I think I'm going to go, you know, like when I set up Rishi Rich Productions, a label in UK, you know, I kind of learned how to run a label. So I think that's my focus, you know, is to have a sub-label, to get a label deal in America, to sign South Asian artists, to produce them, you know, and to bring a team on board, and just really enjoy, you know, I've really enjoyed the last, you know, 10 years of this journey, and I just want to kind of carry on doing what I'm doing, and just enjoy and break new talent.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would love to just, you know, I think we need more Jay Seans and more Raghivs, and, you know, and people like Arjun and Navin Kunja, all these people coming through, and we just need all these artists, because there's space for everyone.
Yeah, there is.
So, and like you said, you know, you can have a great artist, but the music has to work.
It does. But that's the big tragedy, right? There are a lot of great singers out there,
Yeah.
right? So there's always going to be a ton of work for you, Rishi.
But
there's
yeah.
not many people like you.
Yeah.
That really do understand how to mesh so many genres of music, because they you know, most musical you know, producers have a genre that they're comfortable to work in.
Exactly.
But you spent years in all kinds of genres. I mean, you talk about all the different instruments you play. You know, you play harmonium as well as the piano, not to mention all the other things that you do.
Yeah.
So I think that in itself is indicative as a musician that can play both sides of the coin.
Yeah, yeah.
I think kind of puts you in a unique place
Yeah.
that a lot of other music producers don't have. So I'm really excited to see what you're going to do in North America. I think that even though you've had a really illustrious 20-year career, I still feel that it's just the tip of the iceberg compared to what, you know, major stuff is going to come out. Because I think that you finally, you know, you've worked in so many genres of music that I think you've finally found your space in all of them.
I think so. Yeah, I think I found, you know, and, you know, credit to my wife, I think, you know, to have that kind of, that family, that kind of home, you know,
Yes.
because you know, before I was married, I was going crazy.
Yeah.
You know, it was a crazy lifestyle. You can imagine, like, before any of our boys were married, me, Jay, and Juggy were on the road for like 6 years
Wow.
on tour. And
those are some insane, you know, authored works that I want to read one day.
No, it needs to be documented for sure. Yeah, and I'm sure there's like videotapes of it because
I'm sure
I mean
there
some
is.
of the stories, and I will tell you in private, but
Yes.
it's crazy.
Yeah.
And you know your focus isn't always just because your focus is music, and then it turns to kind of clubbing and partying and women and all this stuff.
But it's all a part and parcel of it, though,
it
right?
is, yeah. But I think now it's kind of like, well, you know, we're all settled. You know, all the artists actually I've worked with are kind of settled now, and everyone's on a different focus.
Yeah. Yeah, but you'll never get boring, darling.
No.
It's never going to happen. You're an artist.
I'm very creative, so I need to, you know, I need to party a lot.
Absolutely.
Still, yeah.
I love that about you. I adore you.
Thank
I'm
you.
so super happy
Thank
that
you.
you're here in Toronto. I'm so happy that, you know, we finally get you to come out to
I'm
our
so happy. I'm
award
so
show.
honoured, and thank you so much for, you know, you guys have been great, and you know, I'm really impressed with just the way, you know, Enoki really stands up to, you know, the awards, you know, and the mainstream awards I'm talking about. I think it's a great achievement for you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I'm coming to Atlanta because I want to see this magnificent studio of yours.
Yes, please do.
And some of your secret, you know, music that not even your wife gets to hear.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Please.
my darling.
Thank you.